winter meetings are right around the corner, and we know free agency and trade rumors are on the rise per usual. But past all the Juan Soto talk, what about all the plan Bs and plan Cs that the Mets have that really haven't gotten a lot of shine in the media that we really kind of need to talk about? Well, I'm here today to arise everything that we've seen around from MLB network executives and writers and GMs and what they've said about their future plans, and I'm here to discuss it all and what the Mets should do with it. What is going on, everybody? Welcome to this another late at night edition of Mets Digest with your host, Michael DeAngelo. As you see on the screen, before I get started, we are at 2.93K subscribers. I told you guys I want to get to 3K by the end of the year. It is now currently December 5th. It's probably going to be December 6th when this video is uploaded. So we have about a month to get to that. So if you're new here, welcome to Mets Digest. We love to have you here. This is your one-stop shop for everything Mets baseball, trade news, roster updates, trade rumors, free agency rumors, Juan Soto rumors, all of that right here on Mets Digest. Me and Flobo boys have been killing it so far. If you guys just check out his last video on Luis Severino that he just made, go check that out. But we have a lot to cover, so let's get started. Now, everyone remembers a couple off seasons ago where they were when this tweet dropped. Now, it was pretty fuzzy memory for me. Late night, probably somewhere like in my game room or something, but this was John Heyman when he tweeted out that Carlos Correa would be signing to the Mets for a $315 million 12-year deal. Now, that obviously didn't end up going through due to issues with his physical, and he ended up not signing with the Mets and instead signing with the Minnesota Twins for half of the amount of years, but for around the same amount of money per year. Now, the Minnesota Twins obviously are a small market team that are going to be looking to shed some payroll with some of their young players having rising arbitration salaries. So at the beginning of this offseason, Carlos Correa has come up in trade talks. Now, we don't entirely know whether the Mets are interested or not, but guys like Joel Sherman and John Heyman have brought up the possibility of the Mets trading for a guy like Carlos Correa. Remember, we are possibly looking for another corner infielder right now, with Pete Alonso being a free agent, and the possibility of Mark Vientos moving from third base to first base is a real possibility. So trading for a guy like Carlos Correa to come over and play that third base position is a possibility that the Mets could take a look at. Now, this was Minnesota's GM at the beginning of the year, or I'm sorry, at the beginning of the offseason. And this was in regards to other teams coming at him for a trade with Carlos Correa. He said, if they came at us, we're open-minded to anything. Obviously, Carlos has a no trade clause, and we love to have him here. We're open-minded when teams hit us on all of our players. That's a typo right there. Sorry about that. We've been hit on Carlos before. We've been hit on Byron Buxton before. We've been hit on Royce Lewis before. Those are pretty much the three best players if you guys don't know. That's not shocking to anybody, but we hold an extremely high bar to even start that conversation, and I still feel like those guys are critical to our success. Now, Royce Lewis is not on a big he is still on his rising arbitration years, but Byron Buxton and Carlos Correa are both getting paid, big free agent money. Now, like I said before, Minnesota, small market team, obviously with inflation now that we all know, prices of everything are going up. Teams have to cut their costs, have to cut payroll on certain guys that they no longer can afford to keep. We're going to see it now with the Toronto Blue Jays. If they were to land Juan Soto, they would probably have to trade one of their young stars like a Vladimir Guerrero Jr., maybe a Bo Bichette. We don't know yet. But we could easily see Minnesota having to shed a guy like Carlos Correa, especially a small market team that always has a plethora of prospects, especially on the infield. They could be looking to trade Carlos Correa and have another team eat up that big salary that he has. He's getting paid around the same money that the Mets offered him, except just half amount of the years, like I said before. But as we see here, his season was a little bit of a disappointment. He didn't really heat up until around the end of the season, where he barely just shied under 100 hits. He only hit 14 home runs on the year when power is supposed to be a big plus for him. But with the deep lineup that the Mets have this season, there wouldn't be a lot of pressure on a guy like Carlos Correa to really produce on a night in and night out basis. And that's why this makes it a pretty good match. Now, does he want to play third base? Well, we don't really know, but I mean, he did sign with the Mets back in a couple seasons ago where Francisco Lindor was still the shortstop of our team. So it was most likely that he was going to be playing third base anyway. So it's just a matter of the fact now if he's willing to waive his no trade clause to leave the Minnesota Twins to go to a team like the New York Mets. We know that the Los Angeles Dodgers are also in the conversation as well, as we've heard from Joel Sherman, if the Minnesota Twins were interested in trading him. So I don't know, it's a pretty sticky situation. Of course, if they were to trade him, the Mets would pretty much be eating most of his salary, but that would cause us not to have to pay as steep of a price for a guy like this. Remember, this is a former multi-time All-Star, World Series champion, Silver Slugger. You're getting a pretty above-average elite player here at the major league level, and not having to pay an expensive price for him due to the fact that you can eat up a salary like that may be crucial for finding that corner infielder replacement. Now, in regards to more corner infielder stuff, another guy that is coming up in trade talks that could be another team that's looking to shed some payroll is the St. Louis Cardinals. Now, Nolan Arenado, he's 33 years old, and he's on the second half of that big contract or that big extension that they gave him. And, his offensive season was pretty depleted, to say the least, this season. I mean, he only had 16 home runs. The batting average wasn't entirely there. The defense is still definitely there, though, which is something that's crucial for the Mets. They had one of the best infield defenses that we've possibly have ever seen from a New York Mets team, and they would love to keep that. And Nolan Arenado would definitely be maybe even an upgrade, at third base over Mark Vientos. And Arenado has, at this late in his career, he has been accepting to possibly playing first base this year. Now, would I want him playing first base for us? Absolutely not. With an arm like that, and a guy that's, with the amount of experience that he's had over at third base and just an automatic Gold Glove normally, I would not want him to play first base. I would just leave that up to Mark Vientos and, let Arenado do his thing over there. But, in regards to, this report, this was from Matt Snyder of CBS Sports. He says, Pete Alonso's a free agent, as we all know. While the Mets are hot on a trail of Soto, this means the Mets surely wouldn't be a factor here until after at least Soto is signed and maybe even after Alonso signs. If the Mets bring back Alonso, it really doesn't seem like there's a fit with Arenado. If Alonso signs elsewhere, yes, even if the Mets land Soto, Arenado would work. Now, again, this is another situation here where, you're not going to have to pay off his full contract. Now, obviously, I wouldn't know, trade details and all of that. This is just all tentatively, guessing. But with a team like the St. Louis Cardinals, who are considered a high market MLB franchise, they would be able to afford to eat up some of his contract as well. Now, that would cause us to have to pay a bigger price prospect-wise to get a guy like that. But, if we're signing Juan Soto and also going out and getting Nolan Arenado, I don't think anyone's complaining about the prospects that we're giving up, right? I mean, look, I'm the biggest Ronnie Mauricio fan that you can find anywhere. But if we had to let go of him to form a team like that, then so be it. My heart would be broken, though. But Nolan Arenado, it would be a great fit. We've heard rumblings in the past before when he was on the Rockies, a free agent. We don't know. The Mets did show some interest in him in the past. Could they show more interest now? We'll see what happens. It's pretty much all up to what happens with the Pete Alonso situation. That's what you really got to look out for when you're looking at guys like Carlos Correa and, Nolan, Arenado, and other corner infielders. We obviously, in my last video, I spoke a little bit about Vladimir Guerrero Jr., due to the fact that Francisco Alvarez has made a connection with him and, posted him on his Instagram and said, let's make this a trio. And so that would be another guy that you got to look out for. Now, on the other side of the ball, when it comes to the pitching staff, we have seen a report this was earlier, and you can call me late if you want. I already know you guys. You can go in the comments and say I'm late. It's fine. I procrastinated covering this. But let me make sure you guys can see that better. But this was, from John Heyman saying the Mets are among a few teams interested in signing Clay Holmes and making him a starting pitcher. Now, that is a very interesting subject. We know that Clay Holmes has been on the Yankees these past few years, has had very up and down seasons, with last season being very down, pretty bad to say the least. Pretty much led the league in blown saves, and Aaron Boone continued to leave him at the closer role, and it just was not working out. Would get in a lot of jams and would get out of them every once in a while, but for the most part, that ERA barely held out at a 3. A guy that doesn't give up a lot of home runs, as we see, but he appeared in a lot of games. He's very durable, but for the fact of him being a starting pitcher, now he has only ever made 4 career starts, and that was in his rookie year with the Pittsburgh Pirates, where he spent a few seasons before getting traded to the Yankees, during the middle of the season. So he came up to the league as a starting pitcher, and, that obviously didn't end up working out, and, then found his stride in the reliever role. So that's what kind of stuck it out there. But now, since, he has been on the decline stats-wise, the interest now has come with Clay Holmes from multiple teams, actually. It's not just the Mets, for bringing on Clay Holmes as a starting pitcher. Now, the Mets still need some starting pitcher. We just saw them sign Frankie Montas to a $36 million contract, and we did just see Luis Severino walk away to the Oakland A's for a $67 million deal. If you guys want more on that, go watch Flobo's video on Severino's signing with the A's. Let me just give a quick input on that since I didn't get to cover that video. If you guys think he's going to be on the A's for all 3 years of that contract, you guys are sadly mistaken. The fact that the A's just gave him the largest contract in their franchise's history to a guy like that, Luis Severino, really. As soon as the A's are 4th in the AL West or whatever, coming up to the All-Star break, I am telling you that man is going to be on the open market faster than you can say, faster than you can say Grimace. Like, he is, they are not paying him that money. I promise you, they're signing him knowing that they are going to be trading off that contract to another high market team once the trade deadline comes. They sign him to that 3-year deal to give him that value, to get that value of him, so that once the trade deadline comes or once the next off season comes and teams need starting pitching and be like, oh, he only has 2 years he has 2 years left on his contract. That creates that value. They're making an investment so that they can trade him for more prospects. But that's my little rant on Severino. But we'll get back to the topic on hand here. And that is that the Mets still need some rotation help. Is Clay Holmes the solution? I can't get behind it. I can't, after watching him all last season with the Yankees and just seeing him, get into all those jams when he would be around like high 20, 30 pitches. I can't really see the match here. I mean, look, it is a big trend now for relievers who are struggling to turn into starters, and also vice versa. We have seen it with Sean Manaea. Remember, he was moved to the bullpen when he was on the San Diego Padres, and then was also on the bullpen for pretty much the entire time he was on the San Francisco Giants. Obviously didn't perform to the best of his abilities there, but then the Mets signed him to that 2-year contract and then turned him back into a starting pitcher, and now found the most success he's had ever in his career. So maybe they're looking for their next Sean Manaea with Clay Holmes. So that is a pretty interesting subject that you could look at there. But me, in my opinion, I think you got to look at the other actual bona fide starters that are on the market before you would go for a guy like Clay Holmes. This has got to be your plan F, G, E, something down there. Like you can't think of this as your front runner for to fill your rotation spots. I would think of this more as like a depth starter, 6th or 7th starter, spot starter type of guy. But I mean, Heyman reports that they're interested. I gotta cover it. I don't have to agree with it. I don't have to agree with it. I don't have to disagree with it. But that is what it is right now, and the Mets need rotation help. So we will see what happens here. Obviously, nothing else will probably happen for the Mets until Juan Soto signs. Me saying that when Frankie Montas just signed with us. But anyway, I'm sure he wants to make his deal before winter meetings start. So hopefully we will see that, so we can get this all done and over with. But for now, that is all I have for you guys here on Mets Digest. Make sure you guys subscribe down below. I want to get to 3K before the end of the year. Thank you guys for all your support. And I read all your guys' comments too. So make sure you guys comment down what you guys think of all of this. But that I will see you guys soon in the next video. And that is all I have. Bye.